What's going on, guys? JPP Duel here. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. And for today's gameplay, we have Adventures Pranks versus an Adamancipator matchup, with my opponent playing Adamancipator going first. Now, first of all, before the gameplay even goes any further, you guys know Block Dragon is going to go down to 1 on the update on the 10th when the new ban list comes out. So really good for us because we don't want to sit there for 5 minutes while our opponent combos and have a minuscule chance and minuscule hope that we can somehow play through their field, right? Because they put up a bunch of stuff on the field. So thankfully that's happening. Also, this guy is playing the 60 cards version. The pile version is more popular than the 40 cards version. I myself like to play the 40 cards version because I don't have grass, but 60 card version is really powerful. So I have a Maxx in my hand, and the only way I can play through his board that he is about to set up is if my Maxx resolves. So on the activation of Doki Doki is when you want to Maxx your opponent. Never ever Maxx your opponent on a normal summon of a card because you want to Maxx them when they are special summoning, so that way it becomes a guaranteed draw if they do not negate your Maxx. Yes, you can Maxx them initially if you know they're playing a combo deck, but that just means you go -1 if they don't take the Maxx challenge, right? Your Maxx just goes away. So I would rather guarantee draw a card and maybe force him to choose between taking the Maxx challenge or stopping right there after he commits a card to the play. Also, Doki Doki for the special requires a pitch from his hand, so if he stops the Maxx challenge, he's gonna go -1 on that, right? So I Maxx him, and thankfully, my Maxx right here resolves. He did not have Ash, Call By, or Cross Out on his hand. Now, ideally, you don't go for the Prank Kids line from the Doki Doki. Usually what people do is go into the analyzer and get the search up off of the analyzer, but the chances of you in a 60 cards list not hitting a monster with the analyzer that you can special on the field is pretty high. So that's the reason I'm assuming this guy went towards the Prank Kids combo line. So he goes full Prank Kids combo line, takes the Maxx challenge, banishes out Attack of Crusader from his hand for the Roxy's effect, Miracle Rupture, pitch the Revival will special itself on the field because it's sent to the graveyard with a card effect, and then goes up into Doodly Doo. Now, with this activation, he's gonna get a copy of Roxy's on the field. He has 2 level 4s on the field. Now, the way to search for the Block Dragon is to go through Gallant Granite. Gallant Granite requires 2 level 4 monsters on the field for its Xyz summon, and that's exactly what my opponent is about to do. Now, I'm praying over here, okay? If this guy does not have a block in his hand, he needs to search for it, and this pretty much proves he does not have a block in his hand. Otherwise, he would not be wasting these 2 materials to go into Gallant Granite, right? I'm praying, okay? Praying to draw into Ash Blossom on the summon of Gallant Granite. Otherwise, his search will go through and he's gonna get full combo. So let's see if our prayers are answered. And no, prayers not answered. Drew into a copy of Fancies. Really bad, but it's okay. Activates the Gallant Granite, gets to search for the Block Dragon, and he's gonna get the Block Dragon special on the field. On the summon of Block Dragon though, I do draw into my Ash Blossom. Now you guys might be saying, Jay, you drew into Ash, you have the Ash on the Block Dragon, which he's gonna activate from the graveyard, right? No, wrong. Because now he has enough materials on the field to go into Appaloosa. He's going to take away all these 4 materials, go into Appaloosa, thereby negating my Ash Blossom play on the Block Dragon in the graveyard. You guys will see what I'm talking about. This is the standard Adamancipator combo line. I know this because I do play Adamancipator myself from time to time against my viewers mostly, because if they don't want to play against my Prank Kids, I play against them with my Adamancipator because I'm that toxic to my viewers. No, all jokes and fun aside, so there comes the Appaloosa. So Appaloosa's come on the field, he's going to activate the block from the grave. I am still going to Ash Blossom this. I want to get the Appaloosa's negate out right now. The reason being that on my turn, I want this Appaloosa to have as few negates as possible. Because once again, this guy did take the Maxx challenge. Now, I do not run Nib myself, okay? but I do run a lot of cards that can bait out certain effects and stuff that this guy will put on the field. So I want this Appaloosa to be as low negates as possible. He's going to be on 2 negates once per chain on the Appaloosa on my turn. With that, block goes through, he gets the Seeker, he gets the Researcher, and the Gigantes. So he gets all 3 cards. He could now special out Seeker, special out the Researcher, and the Gigantes. He's gonna instead Small World, and I was not expecting this, okay? This guy is being so toxic. Like, running this card is such a it's a floodgate, okay? If this guy gets this card in the field, it basically becomes a floodgate. Hate this card. It reads, if your opponent special summons a monster while you control no cards, you can discard this card, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls this turn. That monster cannot be tributed or used as a material for a fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link summon. Like, that just kills prank kids. It does kill a lot of decks, actually. Hate that card. So he was running it, but he's using that as a small world bridge for getting the Supplier in his hand. Now, Supplier will special itself once it sees I believe a rock monster leaving the field, an earth monster leaving the field, either one. So he gets the Seeker and the Researcher on the field, activates the Seeker. Seeker does give him the Tackle Crusader, and with that he's going to put the block on the field. With that he's going to go into his Omni Barone, right? He still has the Researcher's Search as well. He's going to get the Supplier on the field. Supplier will search him for the Kokai Meru Guardian. I'm okay with all of that. Don't care much for it. He's going to go into Abyss Dweller now. Now, guys, Abyss Dweller is a card that kills off Prank Kids completely, okay? Because Prank Kids need to activate from the graveyard, and Abyss Dweller states that your opponent cannot activate any monster effects or card effects, any card effects in their graveyard. This guy messed up. He activates Abyss Dweller now. I mean, that's just a stupid decision. But I'm assuming he's activating Abyss Dweller now to fill up his graveyard with one more rock monster for the Block Dragon's revival, right? That's what I'm assuming. With that, he activates the Researcher, and Researcher, I believe, did not get him. Oh, it did get him the Xeno Guitar. Okay. With that, he goes into Raptite. Raptite will search again, and with the Xeno Guitar, he's gonna add the Seeker back into his hand, and then he's gonna pitch one card back into his deck. Raptite goes through. It does flip over Seeker, and Seeker, Doki Doki, and Gigantes is what he flips over. He opts to get the Seeker because Seeker is a tuner. So 6 + 2, 8, level 8 Synchro. Obviously, you guys know what it's going to happen. It's going to be another Omni Negate in the form of Borreload Savage. Or he could go into Dragite. So this guy opts to go into Dragite at that point. So he wants a Spell Trap Negate plus a bounce on his next turn over an Omni, which I respect, okay. Gets the block on the field again, links off into IP Mask, and he's going to put the block on the field again at the end and end his turn with this. Now, over here, let's count. He has once per chain 2 monster negates, a monster bounce, spell trap negate, Abyss Dweller to turn off my graveyard so no Prank Kids combo, and 1 Omni, not counting the cards in his hand. We know for a fact 1 card in his hand is a Seeker, don't know what the other card is. So with that, we know what he can do with his board. Now, before my opponent ends his turn, however, I am gonna use my Griffin and activate it. Because keep in mind, Appaloosa does not, okay? Appaloosa does not destroy a card. It only negates the monster effect. So I was hoping to get him to use the Appaloosa on the Griffin so it goes down to 1 only, and then I could just use Griffin on my turn again. I mean, yes, he could use the Barone Negate, but that means his Omni Negate will be gone, which would be good for me. But he did not use anything. He lets the Griffin go through. I'm okay with that, sure. With that, my turn, draw phase. I ended up drawing into, I believe, what was it? Hold up. 1 second. Drew into another call by. So with this, right, what I'm going to do is this guy only has 1 water monster in his graveyard, which is the Dropsies. And if I call by the grave the Dropsies right now, that means if he allows it to go through, the Dragite will become useless. It's just going to be a 3k body on the field for this turn, because for Dragite to be activatable, it requires a water monster in the graveyard. But keep in mind, guys, if this goes through, my own dropsies does get negated, but we do not care because he has Abyss Dweller's activation, and I know for a fact he will activate Abyss Dweller, so I will not be able to activate my dropsies in the graveyard anyways. So I might as well go for this play and bait out one thing on the field first. So that does bait out the Dragite. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna save my other call by. I'm not gonna call by right now. So with that, it goes standby. It goes main phase 1. Now, first order of business is obviously to start off with our adventure combo. If he wants to negate this, he has to use the Barone Omni. Otherwise, the Dragite's negate is already gone. So if he wants to negate this, he has to use up Omni. But Omni, keep in mind, guys, negates the activation itself. So I was hoping for him to use the Omni because I had another right in my hand. So at that point, he used Abyss Dweller. So that means my graveyard is turned off. Okay, whatever. Does not use the Barone Omni. So we get a token. With that, he's going to activate Tackle Crusader. I'm going to call by the grave of Tackle Crusader. I don't want the Tackle Crusader's effect to go through. So I call by the grave it. He allows it to go through. I'm okay with that as well. But he instantly goes into IP Mask. Because keep in mind, guys, once my token comes on the field, my Griffin Omni is online, right? So I force him over here in this situation to go into IP to either bounce token or Griffin. But if he bounces Griffin with Nightmare, I mean, we could search for it and put it back on the field. But I'm going to activate Griffin on the activation of the mask. And he's going to use the Appaloosa's negate to negate my Griffin. Okay, sure. That just means Griffin stays on the field as an extra body. Because keep in mind, Appaloosa negates, does not destroy. So IP Mask goes through, he goes into his Nightmare Unicorn, he's going to pitch a card, and he's going to kill off my token. Because token, again, I can attach a Draco back to it and bounce another card off the field. And obviously the bounce I would go for would be the Barone, because Barone still has the Omni negate. With that, he gets a follow-up, he sort of gets a follow-up play. He gets the Seeker, the Researcher, and the Gigantes into his hand off of the Block Dragon. Now, when I say it's sort of a follow-up play, he goes for the Analyzer, excuse me. When I say it's a sort of a follow-up play, is because keep in mind, Adamancipator people belch out almost everything in their extra deck on a single turn. He has 5 cards left in his extra deck, which I could probably name, but I'm not going to do it because the video is already long by itself. So, like, if I clear out this field, he's not going to have a next turn. He's not going to have a follow-up turn anymore. With that, we put the Griffin into face-up attack. We put the Faithful Adventure on the field. With the Faithful Adventure, I'm going to search for the Enchantress, and the Foolish Burial at this point is a dead card in my hand, so I'm just going to pitch it out. There's no need to keep it in my hand. With that, we can activate Enchantress, banish it, get the right back. So the reason for doing this is, once again, because we have the Corridor and Flag in our hand, I could get those cards specialed out. So I'm going to activate Corridor, put it on the field. Then Corridor goes off into the Colossus. Like, again, I'm just doing this to make my opponent bait out his Barone's negate. That's the last card he has on the field that he can utilize at this point, aside from the one Appaloosa negate, which we don't care much for. So, once again, go into Instant Fusion, does not use up the Barone Omni. I activate the Rocket Ride in the hopes, again, to get the Appaloosa or Barone Omni on the Rocket Ride. Still doesn't do it. So I normal out my Prankets Lampsies and link up into Meowmoo. Now, I know, guys, I know, it's not a mistake. I know the opponent has Abyss Dweller activated. I cannot even go into my combo of Prankets. But what I'm doing right now, once again, is trying to bait out his cards. So over here, we use cross out. I'm going to cross out a Prankets place. I actually messed up over here. This cross out was supposed to cross out a monster, not a spell. Because if I crossed out a monster, I would be able to activate Flag, put it on the field, and get another material on the field. My play over here was to go into Barone, go into Underworld Goddess. Since this guy was holding onto the Barone like his life depended on it, I was just going to take it away with my Goddess and then play around it. Because we do have Pandemonium in our hand, and we have all the cards we require for the Butler combo in our hand as well. So I could just use Panday and go up into Butler and then clear out his board whichever way I deem fit, right? That was the play I was going for. But unfortunately, crossed out the wrong card and it cost me a free summon. But I'm okay with it. I use up my Colossus for it and take away the Baron Omni, go into Goddess. With that, we're going to activate Goddess. Goddess states that once it on summon, it can negate all the cards on the field, all the monster cards on the field. So also, it is unaffected by any cards, monster effects that do not target this card. Now, Appaloosa is not a targeted negate, it's just a negate in the chain. So this guy activating Appaloosa right here means nothing. Yeah, sure, it's going to resolve, but it's not going to negate Goddess. My Goddess still negates his whole field. You see right here, Abyss Dweller, Appaloosa, Unicorn, everything is negated. With that, we go into our Panday play. Panday goes off into our Butler. So once again, can't get any graveyard activations. Also, once again, because of the Abyss Dweller activation that my opponent did put on me. With that, we set down our Floodgates, my Skill Drain, my Anti-Spell Fragrance. I'm even going to set down my Right and Draco back, because once I flip over Anti-Spell, I will need those cards, and Draco back can bounce one card. Whatever he puts on the field, I could bounce it out with the Adventure Token, right? So with that, we started whacking out his cards. The Appaloosa and the Nightmare, these are the two cards that absolutely need to go, because he can instantly go into access code with those cards. And if I don't have the Floodgates, that is going to be a big boy access code. So you need to play smart about this. You got to take out the link cards. Don't care about the Sinker and the Abyss. Abyss is a dead card now. The Dragite is negated. It's like it can't do anything anymore. So we pop both those cards. With that, I end my turn. I have to throw away a bunch of cards to have only 6 cards in my hand. So I pitch out all the cards and I make sure to pitch out Thunder Dragon Fusion, because that way I could get the Corridor Search and do all kinds of stuff again next turn, right? So need to make sure that card gets pitched out. With that, the opponent draws a card. He tries to activate Dragite, to which at this point, like, I just have to respond with Skill Drain, because Skill Drain means that all his Adamancipator cards coming on the field, they will not be able to activate. No Researcher, no Seeker, no Analyzer. None of those cards will activate. Now, I would have 2 Butler pops, yeah, if I did not activate Skill Drain, and Dragite is still negated, by the way, but I'm still okay with this. He tries to use Dragite again to negate the Skill Drain. I mean, we know for a fact it's negated, so it's not going to go through anyways, and Skill Drain now comes online. Now, you could argue I messed up because Dragite was still negated. I could have had 2 Butler pops, but I mean, if it's a mess up, it's a mess up. We deal with it, right? He specials out the Analyzer, then gets the Seeker and the Researcher, to which I respond with my Butlers both pops. So Skill Drain's active, so Miyamu pop will not go through. The reason for me popping Butler twice is because I wanted to get the Miyamu banished. Keep in mind, guys, I have Flag in my hand, I can search for Corridor. I want as many specials I can on the field, right? Miyamu gets recycled anyways. So with that, the opponent's whole field gets popped out. Now, I'm going to tell you something, okay? This guy misplayed big time. He had an out towards my field. Like, he had an hardcore out towards my field. But he misplayed big time. So he gets the block on the field. And he gets Gigantes. I don't know if you guys know what Gigantes does, but that card reads, if Gigantes is destroyed through battle and sent to the graveyard, you can pop all your opponent's spell traps they control. So if this guy had normaled out Gigantes, or special out Gigantes, excuse me, first, I would be forced to pop my Butler out. Right? I would be forced to pop my Butler, and then on just the Gigantes. After that, he could have pulled off a full combo. He could have done the specials on the field, and then he could have gone into his own Goddess, maybe into his own access code to banish out my Skill Drain. He could have done a ton of stuff, but he messed up completely. With that, the opponent just scoops out. It's going to be the end of today's video. I know it's a long video, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. With that being said, I'm going to peace out for today, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video, guys. Peace.